Coming up on Retiring Well,
your retirement income planning.
Yeah, all depends on how much income they need, what kind of a lifestyle they want to enjoy, and how much we can count on that's guaranteed.
I'm a visual learner, so I like to draw buckets to get a visual of this, and so you've got like your different emergency assets, or that money that you may need pretty quickly.
Retiring Well, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese. We've got a wonderful show lined up for you this week. As you can see, I've got a copy of our best-selling book, #1 bestseller on Amazon, called Retiring Well, How to Enjoy Retirement in Any Economy. And why do I have it in my hands? Well, because on this week's show, we're going to be talking about Chapter 7. It's right here on page 81. Chapter 7, putting it all together. It talks about putting together your retirement income planning. Now, I know retirement income's a big deal. We hear it from you that that's your #1 topic. And we're going to talk about it on this show. We're going to talk about the 5 areas, kind of the 5 little groups of money that you need to have for your retirement income model. All right, so here we go. I'm going to cover them at a high level. We're going to cover them in more detail on this show, on this week's show. So, #1, we call them emergency assets. Obviously, you need to have enough money set aside for emergencies. #2, income-producing assets. And, we lay it out right here. It's right here in the book. That one's on page 83. Income-producing assets. You need to have enough money set aside that it generates enough income for you to be comfortable. #3, you want to make sure that you have what we call inflation assets. In other words, you want to put some money aside where inflation is going to affect you over time. You need some money set aside to grow so that your income can grow over the years, of course. And then on top of that, you might want to have what we call extra assets. That's category #4, the extras. What are those? Those are your luxuries. You want a new car, you want to go on that cruise, you want to help the kids out, maybe you've got some kind of, I don't know, it could be healthcare later in life, I guess, but those extras, the things that really make life fun. You want to have like a fun pot of money, perhaps. And then when all is said and done, for some of you, you might be saying, I want to leave some money to the kids when I'm gone. I have 5 children. I can promise you that probably every one of those 5 kids think it'd be a really good idea if Dad left them money after he was gone, hopefully many, many years from now. And we would call those legacy assets. So there you go. We've got 5 types of accounts. We lay them out right here in the book. We had emergency, income producing, inflation, extras, and legacy. So there's 5 right there. We're going to talk about them on the show. We're going to go into some detail, and this is really good stuff. I know you're going to enjoy it, so don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
Are you ready to face today's retirement challenges? Are you prepared for potential market corrections and economic downturns? Are you implementing viable tax strategies to reduce your liability and protect your assets? Are you able to make informed decisions to safeguard your retirement savings and income? Centennial Wealth Advisory presents Mastering Today's Retirement Challenges. We are Northern Michigan's financial advisors, specializing in retirement planning with offices in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord, and we invite you to an informative presentation with a complimentary gourmet dinner. Learn how to use the new tax reform to your advantage, the best way to generate lifetime income, how to identify and manage financial challenges, how to maintain growth opportunities and reduce risk, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register Wednesday, September 19th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Mastering Today's Retirement Challenges. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Welcome back. I'm sitting here, as you can tell, with Larry Flynn. He's one of the lead advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Larry, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Larry, this week we're talking about one of the chapters here in our best-selling book, Retiring Well. We're talking about putting an income plan together, just kind of the general model. And we talked about there's 5 areas, 5 different types of accounts where you can take someone's savings and kind of split it up. You're in the trenches every day. You're talking to people about doing this. Probably be a good idea to hit these categories a little more in depth. So let's start with the emergency assets. So I know that when we're working, all the financial planners say you need to have 3 to 6 months set aside for emergencies when you're working.
Sure.
Is it any different for those who are retired?
It might be pretty close to the same, but we typically will recommend anywhere from 6 months to a year.
Okay, why a little bit more? Why is that the case?
Well, because sometimes the items can get a little bit bigger. Remember, I'm not working any longer, right? So I don't have any way to replace that very quickly. So I want to make sure that I have an amount that's there for those emergencies.
So you could have an emergency, could be a roof. Plus, think about it. People retired, they might be in the same house a long time. Maybe, my parents, good example, recently needed to have some work done on their basement. Turns out that's not free.
No.
So having a little extra money in emergency assets, not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
Okay, I get it. What happens though if you get that person, they've got about 4 or 5 years of income sitting in cash because they're just scared to leave it there? Is that a good idea?
That might be just a little bit too much.
Probably going over the top?
Might be going over the top.
Understood. All right, well, let's keep going. Income producing assets, that's our second category. What's going on there?
Well, Mike, the primary things you want an income plan to do is produce an income, right?
Sure.
So once we've established, how much income we need, right, and we know how much we can count on that's guaranteed, we know that a certain amount of the portfolio's got to be there for income.
Would you say that once someone's retired, Larry, would you say that that might be one of the bigger components typically of their portfolio?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And it just depends on how much income they need, right?
Yeah, all depends on how much income they need, what kind of a lifestyle they want to enjoy, and how much we can count on that's guaranteed. If it's somebody that's got, a very good pension,
right,
and has Social Security, well, guess what? Their income needs probably aren't going to be as great as far as the portfolio is concerned.
Yeah, versus the person who has essentially, all right, I've got Social Security and my 401k, which I know you see pretty frequently.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we've got emergency, income producing, often one of the biggest parts.
Yep. Next
is inflationary. Right? What's going on with that part of the portfolio?
Well, we know today, if I'm just going to use an example, but if my income needs are $50,000 a year, right, and I've established that's what they are, is that what they're going to be 10 and 20 years from now?
Right, probably not.
Probably not. So we need to have some assets that are growing in the portfolio to make up that difference in income down the road.
So the purpose of that part of the portfolio, grow the account so the income can grow over time to match inflation. Usually more growth types of accounts than or conservative growth. What are we thinking?
If you've carved out the income piece appropriately and now you've accounted for my income needs, now these kind of accounts can take a little bit more risk or be more.
Because you might not need it right away.
You got a little better time horizon.
Okay, I get it. All right. So now then we have the extras bucket, if you will. I know that's everybody's favorite account. What's the extras bucket for?
The extra is all the things I'm hoping I'm going to have money for, right? That travel, Right, that luxury travel, all the bucket list type stuff, right? I've always wanted to go to such and such.
Like I wanted, what is it? That place in Peru, Machu Picchu, or however it's pronounced, right? I want to do that, right. So here's the money to do it.
I have the money to do those kind of things. It might be, home improvements. We're always doing stuff to our homes. If we've got the grandkids, we're always trying to accommodate for that, or having a place for the kids to come and visit. It might be car repair, or not car repair, but car replacement, right?
Replacement, okay. Right. I want a new Ferrari.
There you go.
I don't know if you have any clients buying Ferraris, but there you go.
Not
okay.
A lot, so.
All right, so our last bucket, it's our legacy bucket. Yes. I hear that there's a tool you like to use there a lot of times because it really magnifies the amount of money in that bucket.
Yes.
Go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
Well, Mike, could be life insurance. Life insurance has a great need when you're younger, don't have a lot of assets. Maybe you're the sole breadwinner, and you want to provide for your family or have the safety for your family. But later on, it can have need too, because what if I just want to concentrate on making sure that portfolio produces me an income, but yet I'm very legacy minded. I still want to leave something behind as well. Life insurance is a great way in which to do that and not have it affect your other assets.
Right, and I understand it even has a lot of long-term care benefits these days to protect that legacy for those you leave behind.
Yeah, today most insurance companies, for the most part, are saying, hey, we know we got to pay this out as a death benefit. If you should be, unfortunately, have to go into long-term care, guess what? In some cases, we're going to let you use some of that for that care.
Okay, great information, Larry. Thank you so much. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Listen, are you an employee who is participating in a 401k plan? Are you aware that in some cases, you may be able to roll out of the plan even though you're still working?
Are you tired of the choices you have and possibly the lack of professional help in getting you to your retirement goals? If you're looking for an alternative approach to help you protect your hard-earned retirement savings, then we may be able to help. You may be entitled to an in-service rollout of your 401k plan.
A rollover to a self-directed IRA may be an appropriate solution for you. Contact us at Centennial Wealth Advisory today. Take control of your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory can help. Please call the number on the screen.
Are you ready to face today's retirement challenges? Are you prepared for potential market corrections and economic downturns? Are you implementing viable tax strategies to reduce your liability and protect your assets? Are you able to make informed decisions to safeguard your retirement savings and income? Centennial Wealth Advisory presents Mastering Today's Retirement Challenges. We are Northern Michigan's financial advisors, specializing in retirement planning with offices in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord, and we invite you to an informative presentation with a complimentary gourmet dinner. Learn how to use the new tax reform to your advantage, the best way to generate lifetime income, how to identify and manage financial challenges, how to maintain growth opportunities and reduce risk, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register Wednesday, September 19th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Mastering Today's Retirement Challenges. Call 888-608-5825 today.
All right, this week's Chalk Talk, we're going to talk about this concept of the general structure for structuring your retirement monies, and we're going to kind of go into these buckets in a visual. So in our last segment, Larry and I talked a little bit about how these all lay out, but I thought a visual might be a really good idea to share with you. So here you go. Let's imagine that you have worked many, many years, and over your retirement years, you have saved up some money, And let's throw some dollars on here just to show you how this works. Let's pretend that you have been fortunate enough and you've saved well enough, you've invested well enough, that you find yourself retiring with, I don't know, $1 million, right? Let's just go with that. And the first thing you have to identify is, okay, how do I split this up? You know, what money goes where? Well, our first bucket right here is our emergency bucket. One of the things we will always tell you, set enough money aside so that you're in good shape in the case of emergency if something comes up. And let's imagine that you decide that, you know, if you had, I don't know, $50,000 in emergency funds, that's good for you. So your number might be higher or lower, but hey, that gives us a starting point. So we take 50 and we set it over here. Well, here's the next piece. Now, right here, IPA. No, it is IPA. I'm not talking about some fancy type of beer. I'm talking about income producing assets. That's what that stands for, income producing assets. And the issue is you have to set enough money in that bucket to essentially take care of your income needs over the next several years. And usually this is the biggest piece of the whole puzzle. Now, for today's purposes, let's imagine that you need, I don't know, let's go with $600,000, right? So roughly 60% goes, your number might be higher, it might be lower, it all depends on your circumstances. I'm just trying to give you a feel for how this kind of stuff might break down. So, okay, we're at 600, that generates the income you need, fantastic, everything's good. But now, INF, do you remember what that one was? That stands for inflation, so inflationary assets. So you say, I want to set some money over here just to take care of inflationary assets. And let's imagine you put, I don't know, $100K here, right? Let's go with that. $100,000 goes there. And you just let that grow so that it helps fight the effects of inflation over time. Next, EXT, that stands for the extras. Now remember, this is the fun money. This is going to help you with trips or a new car, or, you know, that bucket list vacation, well, whatever it happens to be. And again, just for simplicity, let's imagine that in your plan, let's say you put 150 there, right? Now again, these numbers may very well end up being different for you, but we're just again trying to get a feel for things. Now, last bucket is legacy, LEG, legacy bucket. This is money that you're going to leave behind. Now, here you might say, okay, I'll pop in, you know, whatever's left over, maybe $100K. And this is where you say, you know, it's okay. This is where you're like, you know, by the way, some of this other money still may, you know, every bucket may have money left over. It's not like this is the only money left over for your kids or anything. But, you know, maybe you're the kind of person you're saying, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spend my children's inheritance. Is it okay that you spend your money? I think it is. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you spending every dollar in every bucket. Go ahead, spend. That's fine. That's your money. You can do with it what you want. On the other hand, some people say, no, I want to leave some money for my children, or I want to leave some money behind. Now, here's what's interesting. Remember the last segment that Larry had talked about, that oftentimes he looks at using life insurance, you know, in this legacy category because it magnifies things? Well, here's what he was talking about. Depending on how, you know, depending on your age, depending on your, you know, your health and all this kind of stuff, you might find that if you take the $100,000 here and you put it into a legacy, like a life insurance plan, you might find, depending on how it's structured, you might be able to get anywhere from $400,000 to $400,000 to $1 million in benefits. Just depends on how things go. And that $400,000 to $1 million, that might be for a life insurance benefit, might also include some long-term care benefits. Again, all depends how it's structured. But here's my point. Think about this. You start with $1 million. You put some emergency money aside, you got some income producing, inflation, extras. What if you spent down everything but this bucket right here? That's the only bucket left over. And what if you're able to structure in such a way where you have closer to the $1 million? How cool would that be? You get to spend it all and leave it all to your kids. Kind of a neat structure. Everybody's different. I encourage you, figure out what your structure should look like. Hi, it's Michael Reese here. I have in my hands a copy of our #1 best-selling book on Amazon in its category, Retiring Well, How to Enjoy Retirement in Any Economy. In this book, we cover the 4 big areas of retirement planning: income planning, investment planning, tax planning, and estate planning or legacy planning. It has everything you need to know about your retirement plan, and I want to get you a free copy. So how do you get a free copy? It's really easy. Just call the number on the screen. Come visit with us. Come on in for a free, no obligation financial planning review. And when you come in to get your planning reviewed, we'll give you a copy, your very own copy of this best-selling book, absolutely for free. Again, just call the number on the screen. I want you to get your free copy. I know that you're going to love it.
Are you ready to face today's retirement challenges? Are you prepared for potential market corrections and economic downturns? Are you implementing viable tax strategies to reduce your liability and protect your assets? Are you able to make informed decisions to safeguard your retirement savings and income? Centennial Wealth Advisory presents Mastering Today's Retirement Challenges. We are Northern Michigan's financial advisors, specializing in retirement planning with offices in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord, and we invite you to an informative presentation with a complimentary gourmet dinner. Learn how to use the new tax reform to your advantage, the best way to generate lifetime income, how to identify and manage financial challenges, how to maintain growth opportunities and reduce risk, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register Wednesday, September 19th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, Mastering Today's Retirement Challenges. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us this week on Retiring Well. Mike and Larry have been talking a little bit about general income models and the various ways for income planning and structures, and spending a lot of time talking about Mike's new book, Retiring Well, here. And I'm with John Torbett today. My name is Art Canfield, or the Senior Partners Financial Advisors here with Centennial Wealth, and we're going to talk a little bit today about the different, I'll call them buckets, or places that you need to consider putting assets in for those unforeseen expenses or things down the road.
Right, yeah, I'm a visual learner, so I like to draw buckets to get a visual of this. And so you've got like your different emergency assets, or that money that you may need pretty quickly. So obviously a place you wouldn't want to be putting that is those FANG stocks, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Even though you could get a great return, there's a lot of risk with that. So you want to have some money set aside, right, in that very safe spot that you can easily access when it comes to having an emergency.
Right. So let's give an example, John, because I think this is, and we've seen this recently. You and I have talked about it. You know, what if you're going into retirement and you know in 12 to 18 months, you're going to need a vehicle.
Right.
You know, that's obviously something you're not going to want to put in a lot of risk because you don't know what 12 to 18 months looks like, and you're going to want to categorize that or set aside that money in something, right?
Yep. Yeah. So you're going to want to set that aside. Ideally, you want to, you know, be planning is a key thing in our world. Is knowing, okay, here's some bigger expenses that may be coming up, and look ahead. You know, it's perfect. I just had a client recently where they set that goal a number of years ago, and so they were able to make those bigger purchases before they got to retirement. So they were able to get those toys, the motorhome and the four-wheelers and all that fun stuff that they wanted, so they could pay for that prior to retirement, so then that way they didn't have to rely on necessarily using all the retirement assets to generate that income.
Sure, sure. Another kind of category I think about that's out there that everybody knows is there, but no one really wants to address it sometimes, is inflation. Okay. You know, what if inflation starts back up again? We've had low inflation for a while now. What if that jumps back up? Oh. You know, another bucket, right?
Yep, yeah, another bucket where you want to be, you obviously want to be getting a reasonable return. You can't be just tucking that under the mattress because you have to get enough return to keep up with inflation, but then also for that income that you're receiving, you're going to need to bump that up periodically. And a lot of times, though, we see people are looking at that and seeing that their costs are going up. But it's, you know, it's a little bit. It's nothing drastic, but it's something you'd most definitely want to plan for.
Oh, right, exactly. And then another thing that a lot of folks, when they get into retirement, they tend to, or many people want to help grandchildren in a lot of cases with school. You know, another bucket, right, that somebody could put money in to set aside for, you know, maybe that child is just born or relatively young and they have 15 years before potential college age, right?
Right. So that may be that bucket of money where you're saying, okay, I've got a little bit of time here where before we're going to really need to touch this. So that's where, depending on your attitude towards risk and everything, maybe you can take on a little bit better risk and try and get those better returns because you've got that time on your side.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we always encourage people to more of that short-term assets or short-term bucket. You know, for those, you always want to have that safety net, right? There's never a point, just like when you're working, you know, there's the old saying, what was it, 6 months of income. You want to have something set aside for that liquid cash, right?
And then you think of that legacy bucket and what that looks like. If you do have intentions of leaving money behind, and maybe that bucket is legacy, but maybe it's for long-term care purposes as well. So, I mean, there may be multiple purposes for that money where you're looking out saying, okay, these are things that I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know the time frame involved here, and you know, it would make planning a lot easier if we knew, if clients told us, here's when I know I'm going to die. You know, it's morbid, but it's one that gives us an idea of, okay, what that looks like, and so you want to be looking at all your different options out there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great points you just said, we don't know when that time's going to be. We don't know how long somebody's going to live and what maybe the roadblocks are going to be along the way. But the important piece out of this is plan. Right. Yeah, you have to have a significant plan in place so you can count on these assets being there for these things that John and I have talked about and the other things that we haven't talked about. Right. So if any of this is important to you and you are serious about your retirement income planning, give us a call. We're happy to sit down and talk through that with you and help you develop a plan. Also, as a reminder, you get a free copy of the book if you so choose to come in and meet with us. Thank you very much for watching the show this week.